everyone. Happy Tuesday. For those who don't know, I'm Jo Henderson. I'm a member of the marketing team here at Dux-Soup, and I'm joined today by Giles Garnett, our head of professional services. And it's been a while, Giles. It's nice to have you back.
Thanks, Jo. Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah, it's been busy with many other things as well. So yeah, it's good to see everybody again.
Good to see you. So for a few of you, you may have noticed there's a slight change of schedule. Hopefully you were informed about this, but initially we had Jordan Evans joining us today. For various different reasons, we've had to postpone him joining us. And so he will now be next month on the 17th of June. So if you had already registered for his webinar, then it's replaced with this one, and you will have to register again for his next webinar. But hopefully you should see, well, there'll be a link coming out for you soon. I'll point it out in a second. So I will be monitoring the questions that we have today. So feel free to ask as many as you like, and I will answer as many as I can. I'll save the really juicy good ones for Giles, and we can ask him together at the end. You'll see on the top right of your screen, there is a content section, and this is where you'll find most of the content that we're going to refer to today during this session. You'll also spot there's a little green bar at the bottom of your screen, and this is where you can access lots of bits and pieces, like you can pop the slides up or put them back down again. You can, I think, what else have we got on there? There's a free trial pop up. There's the speaker bio, so you can read about Giles and myself. There's some other bits and pieces as well. So have a little play on there and see, so that you can set up your screen as you would like to see it. The whole session is being recorded today and will be available on demand later, so you can refer back to it whenever you like. Equally, all of the content will also remain accessible, so don't fret about trying to download it or save it or make a million notes. That will be accessible once we go into the on-demand phase 2. I think that's probably all there is for me to chat about for now, and I can come back later.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Jo. I'm just going to double check, Jo. Can people see the slides already?
Yeah, we can see the slides, we can see you,
cool.
And we can...
Excellent. You see, the whole world has changed since I last did a webinar. You know, I've got to try and keep up, haven't I?
I'll shout up if it goes wrong.
Yeah, cool. Anyway, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's joining us for today's webinar on CRM mastery, apparently. Yeah, shout out to Robert, who's just said hi. Hi, Robert from Denver. Good to see you on the call. Yeah, let me try and navigate my way through this new system. There we go. So what we're going to cover today, for those who were registered for the original webinar, sorry for the disappointment. You've got me. We're doing CRM stuff today, and we're going to cover various things today, but we're going to focus on the three main CRM integrations that we have. We're going to talk about Pipedrive, HubSpot, and Salesforce. Those are the three most popular CRM integrations that we have, used very widely, and we've been running them all now for a number of years. We're going to talk about which version of Dux-Soup you require. What is Dux-Soup? Which version of Dux-Soup do you require to integrate with your CRM? We're going to go through the installation process. We're going to talk about the different configurations, and then we're going to look at some usage and examples and just some scenarios that you might find yourself in with regards to using these sorts of platforms together. Excuse me. Hopefully we'll have time for Q&A at the end as well. We'll definitely try and make sure that the most important questions get addressed. But do get your questions in any time, because if there's a natural break at some point and Jo can interrupt with some questions that are specifically relevant to certain sections, then please get those questions in. For anybody who's not familiar with who I am, my name is Giles. I'm head of professional services here at Dux-Soup, and yeah, great to see so many people on the call. Right, so let's crack on. So what is Dux-Soup? For anybody who's new to these, Dux-Soup's a Chrome extension. It's also compatible with some other Chrome compatible browsers, and you can use it to mimic human behavior on your LinkedIn platform. It works in free LinkedIn, the regular LinkedIn platform. It works on Sales Navigator, and it works on LinkedIn Recruiter as well. Essentially, what you do with Dux-Soup is you define a list of prospects, as in a list of LinkedIn URLs, essentially. You decide on the actions that you want to take against those list of prospects, and then you get Dux-Soup to automate it. it's as simple as that, and we can sort of tie it up down into a nutshell like that. It's, it's absolutely straightforward. Of course, there's whole loads of other layers to this as well, but hopefully you'll get the picture as we go through the rest of this presentation. So, integrations and Dux-Soup. Which version can we use? Now, as you're probably aware, we've got 3 different paid editions of Dux-Soup. We've got a Pro version, a Turbo version, and a Cloud version. And as you can see from this slide, the 2 versions that support the integrations are the Turbo edition and the Cloud edition. So if you're a Pro user and you want to make use of the integrations, I'm afraid you'll need to upgrade in order to have access to the API functionalities of Dux-Soup. So just be aware of that. If you're using Pro, you are limited, and that's not part of that particular package. Okay, so which integrations? Now, these are some lovely words that you find on the various websites of the 3 integrations that we're talking about today. We're talking about Pipedrive, we're talking about HubSpot, and we're talking about Salesforce. And what I'm going to try and do, actually, I need to try and change my layout a bit, because otherwise I'm looking up there all the time to where the slides are. That's better. I can see it now. I will get there eventually with this new platform, Joe, honest. Pipedrive, yeah. Sales pipeline CRM design primarily for small and medium-sized businesses. HubSpot, it's a CRM platform that helps business manage marketing, etc. And then you've got Salesforce, which is very much focusing on customer service, used very much more by larger organizations primarily. And that is reflected very much in the people that I speak to who are using these platforms at the moment. So yeah, it's these are the 3 we're talking about. They are the most popular. We do have a couple of others as well, which and a couple of other platforms which we do support, but we're not going to be looking at those today. They'll probably be in a future webinar for anybody who's looking at that. We're also always looking to expand these portfolio of integrations. So we are always looking to see what other possibilities there are with other platforms, but there are a lot of dependencies on that as well. So those are the 3 we're going to look at. Now, all of these 3 essentially have the same setup. The idea is we created this integration template, and other than the different terminology that's used within the platforms, essentially the solution is the same. You decide which LinkedIn profiles make it into your CRM. Dux-Soup, you can set it up to dynamically add your new contacts into your CRM. So if somebody becomes a first-degree contact, you can set it up so that they just seamlessly appear in your CRM. Once the people are in your CRM, once those contacts are in your CRM, you can bring across the conversations as well. Dux-Soup can bring those LinkedIn conversations into the CRM as well. And then also you can trigger Dux-Soup actions from within your CRM. And a couple of updates, which maybe some of you won't have seen, you can now do that against individual contacts or against a multi-select list of contacts. We'll show you all of those little tricks as we go through this as well. Now, when Dux-Soup is bringing information out of LinkedIn and bringing that into your CRM, it's bringing in certain data fields in order to facilitate all of this functionality. So yeah, let's carry on and see what we have coming up next. So when it comes to installing, anybody who's a Turbo or a Cloud user, you will have access to the Dux Dash. And within the Dux Dash, you can go to the CRM Connections tab on the left-hand side. Don't worry, I will be demoing all of this later. I'm just doing the slides now, and then I'll share my screen a bit later. I don't want to swap and change because that would be a bit tedious. We go to our CRM Connections on our Dux Dash, and then you go to add a connection, and then these are the CRM options that you have: Salesforce, HubSpot, Pipedrive, and then the other 2 that we've mentioned already as well, Fresh Sales and SharpSpring. Not looking at those in detail today. Once you've done that, what you need to be logged onto your CRM account within your browser, because then what you can do is you basically add your account. And once you add your account, you get this kind of a prompt. So here's my Pipedrive account. There's my details there. I've enabled my connection here. I've got a few of these options checked here. And we can see here, we can create and update people from connected profiles. Now that's actually a drop-down list, and we can see the drop-down list here on the right-hand side. And that's me determining which LinkedIn profiles are going to make it into my CRM. So we've got a bunch of options here. Now, probably 80 to 90% of people use the option I have here: create and update people from connected profiles. In other words, only interested in first degree connections, making it into your CRM. Now you can choose something different. If we work our way through this list here, if we start at the bottom, create and update people from all profiles. Every profile that you or Dux-Soup opens in LinkedIn, in that case, will end up in your CRM. So that'd be first, second, third degree connections, etc., etc. One up from that, create and update people from connected and tagged profiles. Now, you may be tagging profiles during the process of running a Dux-Soup campaign. And that way you can, for example, select or cherry pick the people who are going to make it into your CRM. Same with the next one above, that would be just anybody who's in there rather than connected. And the top one, of course, is do not create. You know, maybe there may be instances where you're doing actions in LinkedIn where you don't want that data to end up in your CRM. This is what the setup looks like for all of our different configurations. Now, the terminology may be a bit different, but essentially this is what it looks like. What we can see down here, we've got update contact after connecting. In other words, somebody becomes a first degree connection, they'll dynamically get added to my Pipedrive account. And once they're in there, we can then see I'm also creating activities for messages here. So those message exchanges will appear within Pipedrive as activities. So that way I can monitor those incoming messages and then decide what I want to do next with my prospects. Now we're going to see with HubSpot and Salesforce in a second, basically exactly the same setup with some slightly different terminology. Let's go to HubSpot. Again, we've got our same setup here. My HubSpot account is linked. I've selected to only bring across first degree connections. And instead of activities here, it looks like they are called timeline events. So that's, excuse me, that's the difference there primarily with HubSpot. Again, update contact after connecting.
Giles, can I butt in ever so briefly?
Of course, yeah, go for it, Joe.
Sorry to disrupt your flow. I think when you are leaning against the desk, either there's something on your desk that may be metal, so it's rocking and making a bit of noise, or there might be just a bit of echo somewhere.
All right, I'll
shout at you next time you do it and see if we can work out what it is.
I'll try and move my mouse a little less. Cool. And then in Salesforce, it looks almost exactly the same as well. So again, here I've enabled that, creating and update contacts from connected profiles. Again, I only want first degree connections to come in. Now, again, here we can see update contact after connecting. And we can see here that actually the LinkedIn messages then appear within the chatter environment within Salesforce. Now, I know there's going to be some questions coming up around why do we create contacts and not leads, etc., etc. A lot of that has to do with trying to keep this standardization, but it also has to do with the nature of the APIs that are available, the various different limitations that there are, because essentially we're only bringing across contacts from within a LinkedIn environment, and then yeah, it's up to you what happens to those people once they make it to your CRM, whether they become leads or whatever it may be. So I'm sure there will be some questions around that as well. But the setup here, we can see Pipedrive, HubSpot and Salesforce. Essentially, those boxes look the same, and we can have a look at that in real life in a moment when I share my screen. Once you've got your setup all there, and you've got your contacts in your CRM, then you can actually trigger actions from within that CRM as well. So just as an example, you can, in all of the environments, you can update your contacts details. You can message them in LinkedIn from within your CRM environment. You can enroll them into your Dux-Soup contacts, into your Dux-Soup campaigns as well. And in some cases, you can send a connection request if you're not already connected to those people. Again, we'll show you these options, and we can do this on an individual basis or indeed in bulk within each of the three CRMs that we're going to be talking about today. We've talked about this already, the message handling, each of the integrations. Yeah, Pipedrive, it comes as an activities, HubSpot, their events, and in Salesforce, it's chatter. So just be aware, it's very similar. The solution is very similar. It's just the terminology that is where the difference is primarily Seen. Right, let's get on with the demo, because then I can actually get our hands dirty. And now I've got to try and work out entire screen. Let's go for that one. Fingers crossed this will, with the magic of the internet, will actually be able to get my screen working. Joe, can you confirm that you can see my LinkedIn page?
I can see your LinkedIn page, yes, Giles.
If you can see it, then I'm going to hope that everybody else can as well. Right, for anybody who's new to these webinars and hasn't met me before, this is me on LinkedIn. You're very welcome to send me a connection request. Please do mention Dux-Soup when you send that connection request, because then I know how how you found me, I should say. So this is me on LinkedIn. Feel free to ping me a message. Great to meet anybody who's a Dux-Soup user or interested in using Dux-Soup, wants to exchange ideas, etc., etc. So this is me on LinkedIn. Right, let's have a look. So if we're a Turbo or a Cloud user, and what you'll see here is I've got Dux-Soup Turbo running here on my screen at the moment. If we go down to our Dux Dash, and as I mentioned earlier, in my Dux Dash here, over on the left-hand side, this is where we can then configure our CRM connections. We can see here, I've got my HubSpot account connected, I've got my Pipedrive account connected, and I've got my Salesforce account connected. So I'm seeing data go to all three environments at the moment. So that is all running smoothly. It's been running like that for quite a while now. So we should see some data in each and every single platform. We're actually going to go through this in a logical order. Believe you me, there is some logic to it. I know it doesn't seem like it sometimes, but there is. We're going to start with the most mature of our integrations, which is Pipedrive. It's the first one that we introduced about 4.5 years ago now, if I look back at the times. Pipedrive, we're just going to go through this very, very quickly. When you want to add it, you press your new connection button here, you make sure you're logged on to Pipedrive, and then you make sure that all the permissions are set, etc., etc. It's important when you do that first installation that you have admin rights in the CRM, because Dux-Soup is creating some new fields within your CRM, and it needs to have admin rights in order to be able to do that. It's a one-time action only. Once it's there in your Pipedrive or other CRM environment, those fields are there for everybody. So that needs to be set up first of all. I've got mine enabled. I've got it, as I said earlier, to bring across connected profiles. And I'm asking it to dynamically bring across new connections as well. So let's go into Pipedrive and have a look and see how that looks. And we go into my Pipedrive environment, and these here are my contacts within Pipedrive. These are my people, as we were. And what we can see here is a whole load of these got added today because I was testing and making sure everything was working correctly in advance. What we can see here, there's a field here called LinkedIn ID. Now, this is a really important field that Dux-Soup brings across. It helps all of the data exchanges work properly. And that's one of the key things that Dux-Soup brings across. Now, I'm going to open one of my colleagues' contact information here. So we can see here, this is Vlada. This is my our head of customer support here at Dux-Soup. And what we can see here, I've got the LinkedIn ID, Dux-Soup's brought across the LinkedIn URL as well. And down here, we even see Dux-Soup tags and other bits and pieces as well. One of the things when you do this, first of all, there can be situations where duplicates appear. And, you know, especially if you've already got data in your CRM, that can be because essentially we don't want to overwrite your existing data. So if we can't match up regarding organization information, etc., then you will find that there will be some duplicates appearing in your CRM which need to be merged. Not everything will come as a duplicate, but it just depends upon how much data you've got there already. What we can see here within Pipedrive, though, straight away, we can see here message exchanges from LinkedIn. That's all in here and populated accordingly. And what we can also see here, over in the top right-hand corner, if I click my three dots here, we can now enroll into one of our Dux-Soup campaigns. We can send a message, or we can even send a connection request. If I press send a message, there we are. I could go in here, testing from Pipedrive. So if I now press this button, hi_FN_, as per all of your normal campaign activities, I can now queue up a message to go to my colleague. There we go. That's just been queued up to go out to my colleague there. And if I'm really quick, I may see that actually in my queued activity here in the Dux Dash. Let's have a look and see if it's there. There we go. There's my message that just got queued up to go to Vlada there within my my queued activity. So very simply, we can enroll into our campaign, we can send messages, or indeed we can send a connection request if we're not already connected to somebody. One of the more recent innovations, should we say, and actually I think it's been here for quite a long time with Pipedrive, is we can also do a multi-select. So if we have our people list like this here, we can select one or more or multiple different people on our list here, and we'll see here we have the ability to do this in bulk. So if I wanted to message people in bulk, enroll people into a certain campaign, etc., etc., I can do that from here within my Pipedrive environment. So that's all available to you. Pretty standard. I'd say this is the integration that's been there the longest. It was the first one that we did, so about 4 years ago or so. So it's well used, it's tried, tested, and incredibly robust and stable. And that's essentially the Pipedrive solution. Oh, that didn't want to do that. Let's go back and go back to our CRMs here. If we now divert our eyes towards HubSpot, so let's have a look at HubSpot next. Again, I've got the same setup here: create and update contacts from connected profiles. Exactly the same setup here as I've got with Pipedrive, essentially. And if I go to HubSpot here, we can see here again, I've got some new contacts that have come in today. And again, we can see here, I've got that LinkedIn ID field. If I go further to the right, I've also got data coming out regarding the LinkedIn industry. The LinkedIn URL here is populated. I would also have emails and telephone numbers if they're visible. I'm trying not to show too many of those while we're doing a webinar. But yeah, all of that information is populated dynamically by Dux-Soup as it gathers all of that data for you. Similarly, now I'm just trying to think if I've got someone who I can, well, let's have a look and see if I can find Vlada again. There we go. There's Vlada in this environment as well. So here again, I've got here all of the information, the contact information, etc., email address, telephone numbers, etc., if they're visible. Here's a message that I sent earlier today as part of testing. There we are. Hi Vlada, just getting ready for the webinar later today. That's a message that I sent in LinkedIn earlier today. Again, there's a hyperlink to the URL as well, a hyperlink to the conversation here if I'm logged onto that LinkedIn account. So all of this is here, up and ready to go. See all my exchanges here within my activities. And over on the right-hand side, if I scroll down, there should be a LinkedIn section down here. There we go. There's our LinkedIn section here, powered by Dux-Soup. Here we can enroll into a campaign. Again, we can send a message. We can update HubSpot, or we can send a connection request. Update HubSpot essentially just triggers an auto visit to that profile, which then updates. Maybe they've changed jobs. Maybe they've got other information. Maybe they've updated their URL. Maybe they've got other information available as well. But that update button essentially just triggers an auto visit to that profile for Dux-Soup to gather that latest information out of LinkedIn for you. Again, exactly the same, really, conceptually, as the Pipedrive integration. What we're now going to do is we're going to get our hands a bit dirty because we've got Salesforce to talk about now. And this one is a little bit more complicated because there's, should we say, a few more layers of complexity when it comes to Salesforce. Now, I've installed my Salesforce account here. I've updated. I've got exactly the same selection here. So I'm, again, only bringing across first-degree contacts. I'm having my messages come across as well, etc., etc. Now, when you first install the connector, you are presented with this page here. And what you need to do to make sure you have the latest information is you press this Install Package button here. That just makes sure that all of the latest packages, etc., are there in your Salesforce environment. And then you want to update a couple of the pages or the views that you have, so you have access to all of the Dux-Soup options within the Salesforce environment. So here is my Salesforce and my contacts and my recently viewed page. Again, trying to hide the email addresses, but I'm sure that some of them are going to appear at some point. Now, the first thing I want to do is make sure that I have the ability to be able to trigger actions from within Salesforce. And there's two places that I need to do that. So if I just open a open a page here. Let's open a contact. Now, this isn't one that came from Dux-Soup, I don't think. Well, maybe it is. So what I want to do here, though, is I need to change the layout of this particular page. If I go up now, I'm going to have to make sure I get this right. If I go up here to my settings and I go down to my edit page option, what we're going to do here is we're going to actually add in our Dux-Soup options for triggering activities. Over on the left-hand side here, down the bottom here, we can see we've got some custom options. The only one we need to pay attention to is the Dux-Soup connector. If I press Dux-Soup connector, I have to, select the insertion point. So I literally pick it up and drag it into here. There we are. I'm going to put my Dux-Soup connector button here. I'm going to press the save button. There we go. And now we're going to go back to where we were. What we should now see, there we are. So now within my contact view here, I can see here on the Dux-Soup connector, I've got those options available to update, message, enroll, or connect to this individual. There's no way of doing that through the API. We have to do it by editing the layout of the page and just inserting this particular bar. Now, this is all documented in our support pages. So the support pages, which hopefully Joe is able to share, we've got all of the documentation relating to all of our integrations available on our support pages. So all of this is a step-by-step guide documented in what we call our knowledge base, all of those support articles. So that there is our number one. We're going to get our options here to enable us to do that. That's great. But now we need to enable the option to do this in the multi-select menu as well. So if we go back to our contact view, we're going to go back to our list view here again. And now we've got to try and get this the right way around as well. Now we need to click up here and we need to go to the edit object button. Anybody who's making notes, do feel free, but this will all be available in the recording. And as I say, it's all documented accordingly. What we now need to do is over on the left-hand side here, we're in our contact page, down to what we call the list button, the list view button layout. That's quite a mouthful. Click on here. And what we should now see is these are the normal buttons that are displayed. We need to add our Dux-Soup buttons in here to enable to give us those options. Down here, we can press the edit button, and all things being equal, there we are. There are our available buttons. So I'm going to select all of them. We're going to add them to our environment. And then I think we're done. He says slightly nervously because I thought there was a save button, but apparently not. Okay, so now let's go and refresh the page. And now if I select a number of people, no, that's not going to happen, is it? No, that hasn't. I thought there was a save button. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, maybe it's under there. It was under my prompt from the webinar platform. There we go. I've now saved it. It'll work now, won't it? That'd be slightly better. So let's go back here, refresh this page. And now if I select a number of these people over on the right hand side, the magic of everything, there we are. We now have these options to visit, message, connect, or as I said earlier, enroll here. So those options now become visible there. Now, if we go and find, let's see if we can find. So again, we're going to have a look at Vlada's profile, our head of customer support. Look at the details here. There we are. There's Vlada's details there. And over on the right-hand side, if I click on Chatter, again, what we should see here, there's my message exchange with her from earlier today. Getting ready for the webinar later today. So that message was sent, this morning, my time, and went without any issues there. And I can see that conversation here as well. So what we can see then is with all of these versions, all of these integrations, we have the ability, bringing in the people that we want. We may be enrolling people into campaigns, whatever it may be. We can talk about that if we come into some of the questions and stuff. So maybe you've got a number of campaigns running, because with Dux-Soup Turbo and Cloud you can build as many different campaigns as you like. Maybe you're putting people into your campaigns like, let's try and find this one here. Maybe you're putting people into a campaign like this. What you're doing is you're making sure that you're tagging profiles with the ID when you're enrolling them. So everyone's going to get this tag here. Great. Then what you want to do is then say, maybe, for example, everyone who's in this campaign who becomes a first degree connection, I want them to be in my CRM. I'm not interested in anybody else, only those people who are in that particular campaign. And that's where, in your CRM connection options here, that's where you could say, for example, yep, I want connected and tagged profiles, and I want to include, I can't remember which one it was now. Was it Growth Hacking English? I think it was, whatever one. Yeah, Growth Hacking English. There we are. That's one of my tags. They are now only people who've got first degree connections who are in that campaign are going to come into my CRM. Of course, what I do within my CRM is up to me as well. So, you know, that's very much down to your process, your organization setup, et cetera, what you're going to do with those contacts, because they're only bringing in contacts. You need to define what happens to those people next within your workflows and your processes. What we're doing here is basically trying to facilitate and open up the possibilities for those data exchanges to happen as seamlessly as possible, and to automate all of that information flow, so there hasn't got to be a copying and pasting of information, et cetera. Let's just stop sharing a second, and hopefully we'll go back to the slides. So really start getting your questions in, because I'm going to start recapping now as well. So these CRM integrations are built to help you manage your LinkedIn engagement activities and make sure data appears where you want it to, when you want it to. We've tried to provide a consistent approach within the boundaries of the platforms that are available and the limitations of the APIs that are available. There's a lot of limiting factors there as well. And that is one of the reasons why we only bring contacts in. You, of course, remain in absolute control of what data ends up in your CRM. And the great thing is that you can both monitor the responses and decide on those further actions as to what happens next to those prospects accordingly. Joe, do we have some questions? I hope you're on mute, because otherwise the system's broken. I don't have any sound from Joe.
Oh no, it helps, doesn't it, if you unmute when you're talking? Yeah,
you looked very animated anyway. It was great.
No, it's just me. Yes, we do have some questions, and I shall begin with Kaleem, who has asked, have you heard of Folk CRM? It's a lot like it fits very much into the Pipedrive category, and wondering whether that might be something that we focus on in the future. Now, I haven't heard of it, but I thought we'll ask you, being the guru.
I have to hand on heart, it's not one I've come across before. And I'm just having a quick look now. No, it's not one I'm familiar with at all. One of the things to remember is some of the CRM platforms that we've spoken to, or ATS and CRM platforms we've spoken to in the past, don't necessarily make cooperation that easy when it comes to building integrations. So there are a number of factors involved in determining what's going to work and what's not. Essentially, we have a feedback page. We have a user request page, which is feedback. Well, what I'll do is I'll put the address of that into a message to Joe, so that maybe you can respond to somebody's question with that URL, so everybody can see that link. That basically that feedback page is where we listen to all of our user suggestions, and if there's enough, should we say, momentum or enough requests, then that would help drive development in that particular area. Folk CRM is not one I'm familiar with, so yeah, and I don't know anything about it. There's always the possibility it might work through Zapier or Make, of course, and we did a webinar, I think it was in June or July last year, talking about different CRMs and how you can integrate them through Zapier or Make. So it doesn't have to be a native integration like we've got here, but there are other possibilities available as well.
Yep, okay. We then have a question from Kyle, HubSpot user here. What are the best practices for when to add someone to HubSpot? He said, I have it set now based on tag, but wanted your 2 pence worth.
I'm very much of the opinion, and maybe this is just me, I don't know, maybe other people can back me up on this one, I don't know. I'm only interested in people once they've connected with me. Until they've connected with me, they are, are possible, but they're not, not somebody I'm pursuing with the point where I'm putting them into my CRM. Many people are different because you maybe have LinkedIn campaigns and email campaigns and other activities going on via your CRM. Personally, I think if I was to put every second and third degree person whose profile I looked at via campaigns in my CRM, I'd end up with tens of thousands of prospects in my CRM or tens of thousands of records in my CRM. But everyone's different, and it depends upon how broad or narrow your audience is. And it also depends on the nature of your campaign. So maybe, if you are cherry picking and being very specific in finding those prospects that are going into your CRM, going into your campaigns, then maybe that is the way to go, because you can always remove people, I guess, out of your CRM, remove records if they don't become first degree connections after a period of time. Very much down to your process and how you want to handle the data. Some people gather as much data as possible. If I'm visiting a profile, I want all of that data. Some people are like, I'm only interested in them once they connect with me, because then I can have a conversation with them.
Perfect. I've just sent everybody, in theory, the link to that feedback area, but I sent it. Yeah. Yes, I sent it through the rounds of responding to somebody's question. So if it looks like a load of blurb, just go to the bottom and there's a link there, feedback link. So hopefully you can see that. A man asked, is there an integration available for Go High Level?
Not currently, no. It is on the list of suggestions, so get it upvoted. I know there are a number of people who are interested in Go High Level. I was speaking to somebody the other day who is using Go High Level via Zapier, and it's a bit limited. I think it's called Lead Connector in Zapier. It's certainly one that's on our radar. There isn't currently, but
I'm just playing with the admin side of the tool at the minute. It said, do I want to push it to the slide area? So I said yes, and it turns out it's not given the answer, it's given the question. So I've not done that quite right.
It's still a learning curve, Jo.
It's a learning curve for us both, hey? Fun. Now I can't get rid of it. So let's go to the next question while we sit and stare at that. Robert asked, do you know if this works with the free version of HubSpot?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes, I have I'm running a free version of HubSpot. Yes.
Yeah.
That's the easy answer to that one.
So yes, perfect. Then we had Aaron asked, do we have an integration with Zoho? So I have sent Aaron the list. And if anyone else has other questions around what else do we integrate with, there is a link in your content area on the right-hand side at the top, which I think I've called Dux-Soup integrations. If you click on that, it gives you the list. I think there's about 9 that we have at the moment. But Zoho is not.
That's not just CRM platforms. That's other platforms as well. So we've got about 9 integrations with different platforms, which includes things like Woodpecker, etc., etc. But 5 CRMs. Zoho. There is a blog post around an integration that's one of our users was playing with. I'm currently testing that to see if it still works, because I know it's a year or 18 months old or something. So. That's something I'm looking at the moment, is the Zoho side of things as well.
Okay. All right. Lovely. Thank you. Brendan asked, I still use Salesforce Classic. I assume that this integration will still work for Classic?
Yes, I believe so. You'll have to forgive me. I am a Salesforce newbie, shall we say. It does work on Classic. I have been assured that this is the case because it still uses the same API. Yes.
Good, fabulous, thank you. Then what else do we have? Rob says, are there certain versions, levels of the CRMs needed to be able to integrate?
I believe that's all covered in the documentation in the support pages. So that gives you the outline of which versions are required. That's outlined there in the on the support pages.
Yeah. So mentioning two areas where articles are then. So in the content that we've got on the webinar screen that you see in front of you, we've got a link to the Salesforce page, a Pipedrive page, and a HubSpot page. We've also got a link to 3 blog articles which relate to those 3 CRMs as well. So there's lots of information on there. Have a little look through, and it gives you lots of further details. Elgie says hi from South Africa. Hi, Elgie. Hope I pronounced that. And then also goes on to say, can we remove a contact that's coming from Dux-Soup if a contact asks to be removed for whatever reason?
Not automatic through Dux-Soup, but one of the things you can do if somebody said they don't want to receive anything, you can use what we call the blacklisting feature of Dux-Soup to make sure they don't receive any automation. So again, on the support pages, and what I'll do is I'll grab the link to that particular support document, and I'll put it in the chat box, and then Joe can stick it into the answer for you, because blacklisting is the way that you would use Dux-Soup in a way to prevent you from reaching out to somebody again through automation. And then it's up to you to manually, I guess, remove that person from your CRM. If they're blacklisted by Dux-Soup, then they won't be brought back in as well.
Yeah, okay, lovely. I'll just pop that in the response to you there, Elgie. Now, also, you've mentioned the support pages a few times. Ridiculously, I haven't added that into the link in the platform, so I will do so for the on-demand version. However, if you go to the Dux-Soup website, which is dux-soup.com, the top right-hand side, you'll see the words Help Center. And if you click on Help Center, that is the support area that Giles is talking about.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to actually show people
do it
screen again. So let's go through that process that Joe just talked. So here we go. At the home page here, go to the Help Center at the top. That takes you to the support pages, and this way you can access our fabulous support team. There's a live chat /email option down here in the bottom right-hand corner. And then, for example, that document the article I was just talking about, I want to go to blacklisting. There we go. There's the blacklisting documentation there, how you can manually blacklist profiles, how you can automatically, as well as in the funnel flow as well. So that all should be fairly easy to find, hopefully.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Let's go then to Frederick, who says, I'm using HubSpot, but I'm having a hard time figuring out how to filter leads. For example, I'd like to create a list of people I haven't heard back from in a certain number of days. So
that's where you could, for example, if these are people that you have, for example, you've sent connection requests out, and you've got a mixture of 2nd and 3rd degree connections, and some of them are becoming 1st degree connections. That's where you're in HubSpot, aren't you? Let me see if we can do this fairly quickly. Share screen. Slowly getting used to the platform. We're getting there. Hopefully you can see my screen now. What we'll see here is we're in HubSpot. LinkedIn degree is what you're looking at here. So here we can see, for example, if they're 2nd, 3rd, or 1st degree connections. Of course, if they're 1st degree connections, then they've connected with you. Brilliant. 2nd or 3rd, they've not accepted your connection request. And then the other thing you can look at is last activity date. So here, if you've had message exchanges with them, then you would see that here under the last activity date. accordingly. So those are the ways that I would be looking to filter that. I think it was Frederick that had that question. That's how I would look to filter these lists within HubSpot, certainly. And it's similar in the other platforms, because again, you can filter by degree of connectivity and last activity or last time the profile was updated. Creation date or update date, that's quite tricky to say, is usually what's available there.
What else do we have? Oh, we've got lots of claps. That's lovely, isn't it? Lots of hands. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Juliana's asked, do you prefer Make or Zapier?
Hi, Juliana. Nice to see you. Do I prefer Make or... Oh, that's VHS or Betamax, but maybe I'm showing my age there. That's a very loaded question.
I've got one for another day.
I like the simplicity of Zapier in the fact it's really very intuitive, but I like the added levels of complexity that you can add in Make. So they both have their benefits. Zapier has got more expensive, and I believe Make has as well. I've not looked at pricing recently. They have and there's more integrations available in Zapier. So it depends upon what platform you're integrating with and the complexity of your solution, the complexity of the problem you're trying to solve. I would say probably Zapier is more accessible to most users. Make, yeah, you have to get your hands a bit dirtier.
Okay.
That wasn't a straight answer, was it?
No, it wasn't. It was quite convoluted, that one.
Maybe I'll take up life as a politician.
Politics, yeah, absolutely. Annie has asked, now, because I don't use HubSpot, I'm not certain what she's referring to. So I'm just going to read it, and hopefully you do. In HubSpot, I can see campaigns and enroll contacts, which I have paused. Why is this? How can we fix this issue, please? Or is there a workaround to at least grey them out? This, if you want to reread the question, it's number 17, Annie.
Number 17. I'm going to try and find it.
Which,
I can see campaigns.
Which relies on you finding another box in your console. Sorry. Okay,
so right. Now that I've read that, so you've paused the campaigns. Yeah. So even though you paused the campaigns, you can still enroll people into those campaigns, but nothing will get processed if those campaigns are paused. So yeah, if you enroll people into a campaign, they will just sit there as queued enrollments until you turn on that campaign. So that's essentially, Dux-Soup is literally looking at your list of campaigns. These are all the campaigns that are available. Because some people, for example, will pause a campaign, and then they will go and find their prospects and enroll everybody into that campaign, and then maybe a day or two later, when after an event, for example, then enable that campaign and start all of those activities. So yeah, you can still enroll into campaigns that are paused. It's just nothing will get processed until you turn that campaign back on.
Okay. Right.
Now that I've reread the question, I understand the context now.
Yeah.
I guess that's also probably because when you're in LinkedIn and you're on a list and you've got the drop-down list, of course, your campaigns that are turned off are grayed out. So I understand the context of the question there now. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay. A couple of you are asking about the recording that will be sent to you later on. I think it might be tomorrow actually, but it's the same link that you used to access and join today. It just stays live. So all it means is you'll have to potentially maybe put your email address in, or it might just go straight to it. So yeah, but you'll be sent an email when it's live. What else do we have? Yaroslav has asked, does Dux-Soup have the capability of contact email finding?
So Dux-Soup is able to see publicly available email addresses when you're visiting profiles in LinkedIn. Dux-Soup will only find email addresses that are available in LinkedIn. If you're visiting first-degree connections, you'll be able to see somewhere between 80 and 90% of email addresses. But if you're visiting second and third degree connections, you'll maybe see 5 to 10% of email addresses. We do have a service where you can buy Dux-Soup points to do a lookup to see if we have seen an email address against that profile in the past. And I will dig out the article which relates to that. Hang on a second. Can Dux-Soup capture emails? There we go. I'm just putting the link to that particular article into Slack so that Joe can share that with, I think it was Yaroslav who had the question.
Yeah. So not him. What else do we have? Do you have a list of instructions we can send to a HubSpot administrator at my company before I set up my integration?
100%. Yeah. Again, from the support pages. Because it's absolutely, if you're going to be making changes to the CRM and you're looking at an organization, was it HubSpot you said? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There you go. There's the link in Slack for that one, Joe.
Okay.
So you can
Lovely.
Share that one accordingly. Because that explains all the new fields, etc., as well. So yeah.
Okay. Let me pop that in for Annie now before I lose your. Oh no, possibly in the wrong place. Annie's asked another question. Between HubSpot and Dux-Soup, which field is used to link the same contact between both systems, as we're ending up with duplicates? Is it the LinkedIn URL of the contact?
No, it's the LinkedIn ID. So it's the LinkedIn ID field that I mentioned earlier in the call. So Dux-Soup uses that LinkedIn ID as its unique identifier within the CRM database. So that's the field that you will see is the unique one that Dux-Soup uses to link the data that's in LinkedIn and your CRM. Okay. And if you look back on the recording, when I shared my screen, we saw some of the LinkedIn IDs there. It's part of the data, the key data that Dux-Soup collects out of LinkedIn, and then enables all of that data flow to work.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Oh, I've just found it. Sorry, that was for Fergie. That link. There we go. We've answered that one from Annie. Mayara, sorry, I entered late with Pipedrive integration. You create the automations in Dux-Soup to send to LinkedIn. What automation is needed to happen in Pipedrive?
Well, nothing happens in Pipedrive is the easy answer to that, because essentially what we're doing here is we are performing actions in LinkedIn, which are triggered by Dux-Soup. So you've got your Dux-Soup campaign. You're then enrolling prospects into your Dux-Soup campaign, and those actions are being carried out in LinkedIn by Dux-Soup in your Turbo or cloud environment. And then Dux-Soup is taking the results of those, the data that's coming out of LinkedIn, and pushing that into Pipedrive or your CRM for you. Once that data's there, it's then monitoring for responses. It's putting your message exchanges, etc., there, and it's then purely up to you what happens next in Pipedrive. Whether you're then driving further engagement through the Dux-Soup integration there in Pipedrive, through the message or the enroll or whatever it may be options that you have there. And then whatever else your business process is within your CRM, how you then take those contacts further to be either leads or prospects, whatever it may be, accordingly.
Okay. Yaroslav's asked another good question. Is there an AI assistant inside Dux-Soup which can help to create personalized messages based on a LinkedIn profile?
No, we don't have an AI assistant currently. I know many people who are using, or back to Juliana's question earlier, who are using Zapier or Make in order to plug information into AI tools to then help craft messages. So we're seeing that kind of solution being used a lot, but we do not have any AI integrations currently built into Dux-Soup, no.
Okay. Zach says he appreciates you, so congratulations.
Hey, Zach.
On that one.
I think we've got a call tomorrow.
So I've got a nice long question from Frederick, which I haven't actually read yet, so I'm just going to fire it out there and hope it's a clean, good question. This ties into one of my other questions, says Frederick. One of your colleagues once shared a Google Sheet script that creates a kind of dashboard. I think that would have been Scott, probably. In that
Scott
setup,
of Larder, yeah.
I have the data showing when a message was last received, but is finding it difficult to connect that with HubSpot. He's saying that,
I'm just reading the question. It's a bit messy in trying to connect that with HubSpot. The two systems don't integrate smoothly for this use case. Yeah, that's where, if you're at a stage where you're monitoring the same data in different places, then how that data then matches up. It's a case of whether you're using the data that's out of your Google Sheet, that's then, are you then interfacing that into HubSpot, or are you taking the data straight from Dux-Soup into HubSpot? Very much depends upon your setup there. But yeah, I mean, very, very, from a very sort of high level point of view, that kind of dashboard setup is really for people who aren't using a CRM. If you're going to make the switch and do everything within your CRM, then that's the place to manage everything. And you wouldn't probably then be maintaining multiple places, because there will be slight differences in the timings of the data coming through depending on the API, etc. But yeah, it's a case that if you want data in all sorts of different places, you just need to make sure it's set up correctly to reflect what's actually happening. My recommendation is, if you're going to use a CRM, move everything into the CRM and just do it in one place, because otherwise you're constantly chasing your tail saying, there's a difference between that data and that data, and it may be a small difference. Yeah, but you end up sort of nitpicking down into such a level that you get lost in the details, and you're not able to see the wood for the trees.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question is from Juliana again. If you're considering, I'm not quite interpreting what she said rightly, but if you are considering on your CRM just connected people, you are not following GDPR rules.
Okay, so I think what we're saying here is essentially, whatever you're doing with people's data, make sure you are familiar with the GDPR rules in the location that you're based. Handle people's data with care, don't abuse that data, and make sure that you are complying with the local regulations where you are. All of the data that Dux-Soup gathers out of LinkedIn is publicly available data. What you choose to do with that data is up to you, but that's where you should be very careful, depending upon under which jurisdiction you fall.
Perfect, and that concludes the Q&A. Wonderful.
Blimey, we're on time, Jo.
We are on time. So I just wanted to give all of you a heads up on our next webinar, which is on June the 17th. It'll be at the same time as we are on today, when we'll be joined by Jordan Evans, who's the founder and CEO of Target Connect Co. He's generated more than 2,500 qualified meetings for clients using LinkedIn automation with, you've guessed it, Dux-Soup. He'll be sharing his 3-step strategy of profile, outreach and content, which has generated 1 million in revenue for his clients. So we're going to be looking at how to turn your profile into a high converting asset, how to align your messaging with your offer, and how to use content to warm up your audience. So that is in a month's time. There's a link in your related content to the side on the right-hand side that you can use to register, or similarly it'll be on the website, and also as we go to exit this platform, I think you get a pop-up where you'll see Jordan's lovely face again. And I think from us, all that's left to remind people about is the support services which yourself and Scott offer. And
very shortly, there is going to be a little bit of an update into these offerings with regards to the booster sessions. We're going to simplify things a bit and give people the opportunity to be able to book a half an hour or a group of half-hour sessions. So trying to make it a bit more accessible to people and giving people a bit more flexibility as well, and simplifying the offering. So just keep your eye out for that. I think that's coming very soon.
Very soon. And also, if you would like to leave us a review to say how wonderful it was to see us again, then please do. There's a link on the right-hand side in the content for you to do that. And if people leave us lovely reviews, then we reward you with a lovely cap. So we can't say fairer than that, can we? I also wanted to let you know that if you're new to Dux-Soup, we always offer a 2-week free trial. And if you take us up on that, we will also enroll you into a free trial Slack channel and send you an invite. And that just means that you've basically got hands-on support from the entire team, pretty much around the clock as we all follow the sun. So, we won't promise to come back to you within seconds, but one of us is normally around. We also like to kind of share hints and tips as we see fit, or, share comments from everybody. And so if you were to start your free trial as a result of being on this webinar, then we would spot you and sign you up to our Slack channel, so you can carry on talking to Giles, myself, or Scott.
It's a really great facility because myself or Scott are usually online most of the time, some time of day anyway, between us. But no, it's a great facility, and it also allows you to communicate with other people who are testing out the product as well. It's not just you on your own. There are multiple people doing this, lots of people in the same boat. So, we're all there to try and help and make sure that you get the best out of the resources available.
Yeah, absolutely. So Zach, you've just asked, how do I get on the Slack channel? If you are in free trial at the moment, then message myself or Giles, and we'll make sure that we get you on there. And if you're not in the free trial at the moment, then register, and then you're on my radar. So I'll find you in a non-sinister way. Right, that's it. I think we better close this baby down, Giles.
Yeah, can I just say it's great to be back. It's great to do one of these again. It's having done them for quite a long time, and then having a couple of months off. Just don't change the platform again, because I've only just learned this one.
No, I won't. I don't think we're going anywhere. We like this one. So it's nice to have you back. Thank you, and thanks for being a fabulous audience with lots of lovely questions.
Yeah, great audience, some great questions. Lovely to see some familiar names here as well. Spoken to many of you in the past. Be great to have further contact with you.
Hopefully we will see you all in a month's time. Bye.
Bye-bye.